Let's jump down to the playback button because you'll notice that it's a blue button, and on Canon cameras, blue buttons deal with playback and features in the playback options. So you press that, it's going to play back the most recent image, of course. If you want to get rid of it, that's why the erase button is there. After that, you've got the dial on the back for going forward and backward through your images. The front dial can be used for either jumping forward 10 or back 10 images. And so if you shoot a lot of images and you're trying to show pictures from a week ago, rather than going through every image, you're going to do it a lot quicker with that one with jump 10. You can rate your images, and I've always thought this is a bit of a joke, but it's actually quite valuable if you want to get a little head start on your editing. And you know that that was the good one right there. You can give it 2 stars or 3 stars, and then you'll actually see that when you download it into Canon software or into general programs like Photoshop and Lightroom and a variety of other ones as well. And then you can go in and magnify images as well. And then you can control that magnification with the main dial on the camera going in and out, and then you'll be able to use the little joystick to help navigate around. So let's go ahead and take a quick look on the back of the camera. I have not taken many exciting photos today, but hit playback, we see our images in here, and then of course we can zoom in, and if I want to zoom in more, I can zoom in and I can move my framing around, and I can zoom back right here. Now, as I mentioned, the touch screen, we also have the touch screen on here. And so you can see images we've shot with this. And one of the cool things, and this is a little bit of a hit, well, we can zoom in, okay? We love that, don't we? But here's the cool thing. If you use 2 fingers, actually, you can swipe 10 images at a time. I don't have that many images on here. What I found is that if you put 2 fingers really close together, it thinks it's one big fat finger. But if you separate your fingers a little bit, it tends to want to do the 10 jump a little bit more quickly. And so 2 finger for 10 swipe, and we'll be able to customize that a little bit later. So that's a little bit on that part right there. All right, so there is this very cool 2-image display, and I don't see a lot of people using this. Well, I don't see a lot of people playing back images all the time, but this is it's a little bit quirky, but there's some neat things that you can do. Once you hit this, you get to see 2 images on the back of the camera. There will be some on-screen controls. If you press the set button, that orange box moves from left to right, and you can scroll through and you can find different images to find out which image do I want to compare the first one with. Then if you press the magnify button, you can zoom in and see more closely. You can change the magnification, of course, with the top dial. And then if you want to navigate back to the first image, you can copy that magnification to see how they look in a side-by-side comparisons. And so this morning, I want to show you a little demo here. I took some pictures of Alex. Let's get to our first picture. Let's go back to picture number 1 right here. And I want to compare this with some other images. I want to find the best portrait possible in this case. So I'm going to press the 2-image display. I'm going to turn off the info just because I want to see the image as clearly as possible right there. And so now I'm going to hit the set button so I can flip over to the right image. And now I can scroll through different images to see which image is the best portrait. Now, if I want, I'll go back to the first image and I'm going to magnify. And I want to make sure that my portrait is sharp. So is this one sharp? It's looking pretty sharp. And I'm going to switch over here and I'm going to hit the Q button. And that makes the second image zoomed in as much as the first image. And so now I can tell, is this one sharp? And then I can, oh, like here's one. Clearly I wasn't sharp on that image. And so that one looks pretty sharp there. And I can zoom back and forth. And maybe I like that expression or maybe I don't. But it's a very handy way of being able to jump back and forth, magnify, and then getting the best sharpness that we want. And so I think it's a very good tool when you have very similar images and you're trying to judge which one is best. I mean, when they're not zoomed in, I can tell you which expressions I like, but sharpness-wise, I want to jump in and see which one is the sharpest as well. And so I think that's a very handy feature. I would say get familiar with that on your camera. The info button can be pressed at any time in the playback mode to change the amount of information that you see. I just want to look at no information, but sometimes I need that technical information about shutter speed, aperture, and so forth. Now the shooting info display down at the bottom is unique. And this is fantastic because now we're going to use the joystick and we're going to be able to scroll through several bits of data with each of our images. And you can just kind of leave it at the one that you like and change it as often as you need to. And there's all sorts of things that you will have on here depending on what you have set up on your camera. And so when you get to that image with the small image, the screen with the small image, scroll up and down to go through all the other different settings that you have set on your camera. It's a great way to dig in how you actually took that photo. The Q button on the back of the camera in the playback mode allows you to go in and tweak a lot of your images that you've already taken. Now we're not going to spend much time on this, but these are all things that we're going to see for the most part when we get into the playback menu of the camera. But this is a shortcut in order to get in there and do this right here and easily. So what I want to do a little demo here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first off, I'm going to switch my camera and I want to shoot a raw photo real quickly so that it's shooting a raw image right now and zoom in, and I really don't care what the image is. We're just shooting a photo, and actually that's a little too terrible of a photo. I want it to be an actual photo. All right, so there's my photo. So I'm going to play back this image right now. Get my tripod a little steadier there. Now I'm going to hit the Q button. All right, so now I can navigate to all these different features in here. I can use the touch screen as well. Yes, of course I can use the touch screen, but I want you to see my screen. So what I want to do is I'm going to take an image that was shot as a RAW, but I'm out in the field, I'm traveling, I don't have my normal computer and software for changing from RAW to JPEG, and I want to make a few adjustments. And so in this, I'm going to want to change it to a RAW, and I have two options on this. I can use the settings that I had on the camera, or I can make more settings myself. This is Photoshop in the camera, folks. All right, so let's make a few settings. All right, now what can we do? Well, we can change the brightness level. So let's say we want to make this, do we want to make it darker? Let's make it a little bit darker, make it more saturated. So that's our brightness setting right there. And we can see it brighter. And so we're taking the raw image and we're making it brighter or darker. We're going to come down. Can we change the white balance? Let's just change it to tungsten lighting. Okay, that looks terrible. Okay, let's just leave it on daylight. All right, and actually that is looking a little too dark. I'm going to make it brighter than average. I'm going to make it one stop overexposed. Why? I don't know. We could change our picture styles in here, and we could change the way the exact look. We'll change it to a portrait setting. I'm not going to change all of these, but you can see there's a number of things. Let's see, I'm going to email this image. A 6,700 pixel image is a little large for email, so I'm going to change it down to a small size, which is just 3,300 pixels across. For lens aberration correction, yeah, let's go ahead and throw on some distortion correction. And if I didn't want to do this, I could hit return, but I want to save this. And I'm going to save this as a new file, okay? So I've just saved this new image. So now when I go back and play an image, we're going to have two images. Let me pull up some information here. And so this is a small image that I have adjusted. This is the original raw image. And so this is Photoshop in work in your camera. It's not Photoshop, that's trademark. I don't have permission to use it. It's adjusting your images. But in any case, if you need to tweak in your camera, you can do it. Now, personally, I've never done this, but it's nice to know that you can get in there and do that because I can see a need for it. Not everybody who has this camera always has their computer and all their software with them to make those adjustments. And so, handy little feature. Nice.